Hello and welcome to the Cyber Weekly. The Cyber Weekly is a podcast which talks about cybersecurity with me, Deogratius Okello. Today we welcome Sydney from ISOLUTIONS. Sydney, welcome
Yes,
to the show.
thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be hosted and to be invited to this interesting podcast that I, for one, follow.
That is very good. In fact, you are the first one to like whenever the post comes out.
Yeah, one of the platforms that you usually share about the next episode, LinkedIn, and I'm a very big user of LinkedIn because it has unlocked opportunities for me. So I
Yeah,
keep up with it.
okay.
Yes.
So, if someone is meeting you for the first time, who is Sydney?
Sydney, for starters, I'll disclose the full name. Wadada Sydney James. Yeah, currently a cybersecurity engineer. Before it, we could actually opt to go with a junior security engineer because I'm not so old in the field. This is cybersecurity is an area that very few have stepped into, so we largely consider it as a new sector. So yeah, I'm also one of the few that are in the sector and a junior engineer at the moment, interacting with a couple of solutions that the end goal is aimed at enforcing security in the cyber world. Another thing about me is quite friendly, quite friendly. Don't be deceived by the tough look here. Yeah, when I'm in my good graces, good zones with a group of people that I'm very familiar with, people that are welcoming, hospitable. Yeah, we do interact, we do catch up. Sports lover, Real Madrid. Yeah, and family tops everything because at the end of the day, I mean, we don't get to choose who we spend most of the time, but yeah, most of the time I get to spend it with family. That's Sydney in a nutshell.
Okay,
Yes.
that's interesting. So, why would someone consider working with the iSolutions?
For starters, not not to downplay any of the other cybersecurity organizations out there or the other organs that are offering opportunities in the field, but iSolutions is one of the organizations that I've researched about in the past before I joined them, and it has a holistic culture of nurturing its engineers and those that it works closely with into a cybersecurity mindset first. So this is an opportunity that I looked at as not only for employment, but for growth in terms of career, because I mean, the various organizations out there have CTOs, they have CISOs. So these individuals are more experienced in the technology world. But how do they push the knowledge? How do they enforce or foster a culture among the people that they interact with? That's the team that they're working with, the people that they interact with. And the interaction that I had before joining the organization, down to the sales team, everyone is prioritizing cybersecurity. They'll not invite you for their interview and you know your information is mishandled. If they're reaching out with all the data privacy in mind, you're exchanging emails, they are enforcing integrity. This is something that actually surprised me because they got my information from LinkedIn when I applied through them, and the way they handled the whole process, I said, once I get this opportunity, I'm taking it with both hands. So iSolutions, hospitable, it's a cybersecurity cultured area at the moment because that's the way to go. And it's an East African organization. So looking at it from the opportunity point of view, I'm very sure it presents opportunities for me to interact with organizations in Kenya to find out how the enforcing the cybersecurity side of business. It gives me opportunity to interact with Tanzanian team because the organization has clients all over East Africa, in countries like Rwanda, Burundi. Yeah, it extends to Ethiopia. So yeah, I've had opportunity to interact with Ethiopians. So you get to learn a few words here and there. Kenyans. So my Swahili is being polished at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, that is interesting. Now, when it comes to oh, um, sorry for that. What's your definition of having a holistic cybersecurity framework? Like, how does an organization set up a very good cybersecurity framework for them to work around?
Thank you for that question because most of the times when you say cybersecurity, everyone is only thinking about the servers, the laptops, the various devices that we're bringing into the organizations. Also, something that many of us in the cybersecurity realm cherish are the portable storage devices. So, a flash, I'm sure many of us keep away from those storage media because we have it rooted in our minds that cybersecurity, avoid the flash, avoid a wireless access point, provided it's open, because just to remind you of a very interesting joke that we had at university. We had a lecturer who said, if it's free, you're the lunch. So yeah, but holistic, it involves the people, that is the people that are interacting with the IT infrastructure. We have the data that you possess or the data that your organization is interacting with for business processes. It's as far as the perimeter security, because it all starts from the perimeter security before it gets down to the nitty-gritty of the cyberspace. So yeah, when we talk of a holistic cybersecurity environment, that's how we think about it. We think about it from the people, the data, the infrastructure, the IT infrastructure itself.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, always there's always that issue that people always think about only the physical things they look at, and they don't mind
Yeah.
about the rest of the network.
Yeah.
So how does an organization provide end-to-end protection across networks, endpoints, applications, and the cloud?
End-to-end protection. I I believe a couple of us are familiar with defense in layers. Okay. Yeah. So the organizations that are open to you bringing your own device. So how are you going to protect a device that you have brought at your own merit? You get? So we don't have control over what you've decided to store on it, what you're doing with it after you've left work. So some of these layers vary. So when we talk of end to end, we're looking at the end device, that is what we would call the client, or the machine that I'm using to access various resources on the network. We have the communication channel. How are we safeguarding that? Is the data encrypted? Is it masked? How are we enforcing the integrity that between my machine and where the other point of communication is, there is no one that is in the middle there. Man in the middle attacks are very common. So we are looking at the servers or the different uh, endpoint systems that are interacting with your own. So we have systems that are in place, such as the firewalls. Okay, starting with your own device firewall. I mean, if uh, if you tweak it to the right policies, you can achieve li- probably everything that we would achieve on a large scale. That is when you talk about an endpoint device. When you talk about the cloud, cloud is still a sophisticated center or sophisticated area, because there's this question of, but my information is out there with the cloud service provider. How are they enforcing their levels of security? But we have trusted cloud service providers that are out there that are heavily recommended. These even go the extra mile of syncing your security measures, syncing your data in real time from wherever you are, in terms of I'm working on my personal device, I'm accessing resources over the cloud. So everything that we're doing in real time is stored up there. And the likes of Microsoft, the likes of Google, their security measures, once enforced right, because at the end of the day, they're not imposing that you need to enforce two-factor authentication, but they're giving it to you as an option. And it's now Dell, Sydney, and all the people that are more aware in the cyber world that need to keep pushing the rest, that two-factor authentication, much as there's a second layer of protection that you need to enforce in terms of putting a one-time pin, or you know you need to authenticate with your face or biometric, which is a little extra work, but it's for your benefit. So that is when we talk about the cloud. Kindly remind me, there's an area in the middle there of the
Yes,
question.
we looked at endpoint protection across
Yes.
networks,
Yes.
applications, and the cloud. So I
Yeah.
think the applications part.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Now, when we talk about applications, everyone controls what kind of application they are putting on their device. But we all appreciate that these applications, they need some kind of identification in terms of maybe your mobile number, an email address. You need to set up things like a password, a username, and how you safeguard that information that you're using to authenticate or to get identified in the application is the primary point that we look at. Because until I have your credentials, until I have your information, your personal identifiable information that can help me identify Dale on WhatsApp, I'm barely going to trust Dale. So how do I protect my identity through an application, or my identity as I interact with an application? So there are different measures. We have database application monitoring systems that now are monitoring how you're interacting with these different databases, the different applications that are retrieving information from the databases. That is when we talk about the different banking systems, the different banking applications, the different data storage uh, applications that we interact with on a daily basis, because data right now is more or less our medium of transaction. Yeah, that's when it comes to applications. I'm sure I covered end-to-end networks, endpoint to endpoint. I'm sure I've spoken about applications. I've spoken about cloud. So yes, I believe that answers the question.
Yes. Now, if you look at the strategies of securing sensitive data, how do we ensure it is secure and also compliance with the regulations?
That's an interesting question, because compliance with regulations, unless commonly we go with the GDPR, that is the General Data Protection Regulation. It serves as a general standard for all the other different standards that countries are adopting, countries are coming up with. So you're going to find Uganda has its own standard, but this Ugandan standard is a subset of the GDPR. So most of these pardon me, most of the solutions that we're using, they largely follow the core data protection regulations, because these others, as I've mentioned, are not only a subset, but they pick from the core ones, the GDPR, there's one for Brazil, there's one for Canada. So we even know about the one from the EU. So those are considered as the primary because most of our data is actually stored out there, not within. So yes, once you're compliant to the regulations where your data is stored, by default, you are compliant to the regulations in the subset areas. So simply put, you're compliant to the Ugandan regulations. So how do we make sure we align with that? We have strategies such as data masking. Data masking is basically, comes from the word masking, where changing the appearance of something. Yes, so we at least have to appreciate that much as encryption is an advanced method, data masking serves as a first layer because most of these solutions are quite expensive. Okay. And to enforce standards of encryption, that is RSA or even advanced encryption standard, there are different tools that you're going to use that might come at an expensive cost compared to what you're willing to go for. So yes, data masking, heavily advised. But like I've spoken about the encryption, how you're storing your data that is at rest, that is at the data centers or even at the backups, because backing up is very crucial. So it serves no purpose to have a backup, but it is not encrypted. To have a backup that once someone can get access to it, they have access to information that is as good as on the primary storage center. So we advise clients to heavily align with backing up their data that is encrypted. Okay. We advise encryption on all levels of communication. And it's actually a big boost that most of the systems, actually, I want to say all the systems that we are interacting with are offering, or they are prioritizing data encryption. They're prioritizing communication that is not see-through or that cannot easily be eardropped on. So that one it's a no-brainer. You're in the security world. Before you coincide with anything, check for that. Is it encrypted? How is my data moving from one point to another? Which is heavily emphasized, yes. And I believe I've touched everything in that question. Is there something missing?
Yes, I've literally looked at the idea of data at rest, which is the backups, ensuring
Yes.
data in transit. We've talked of data masking for that, and also encryption, and then data in process. I think that one you looked about, I think it is around that, still the same idea of masking, right?
Yes, yes. And also with the data in process, or I would love to say data in use, because
Yeah.
there's this data that you're still working with. We go with the method of hashing, because with every new input, with every new addition to whatever you're working on, it should have a unique identifier. For starters, that not only creates a level of certainty in the sense of we can track uh, your last input compared to what we have at the moment, but it provides a level of confidentiality that once I finish working on my document, once I am done putting a last stroke, a hash is always generated and you can always retrieve from that. We have things like file integrity monitoring. It it literally checks for the integrity of the files that you're dealing with, because every now and then we have to share. We have shared folders. We have storage mediums that are shared. So yeah, if the integrity is compromised, provided it's coming from an encrypted data source, but the integrity is compromised, you're as good as gone. So yeah, that is it for data in use.
Yeah. Now, if you're chiming into the idea of identity and access management, how do you prevent unauthorized access, which enables users to access information across systems?
Unauthorized access. Allow me at least throw more light on the whole understanding of unauthorized access. So unauthorized access is when you are not entitled to access a particular resource, a particular, area. That is as far as unauthorized access. Okay. But when you do it with valid credentials, this is now a question that I would love to pose. Does it still count as unauthorized access? Okay. So I'm not Deo, but I get Deo's credentials. I access Deo's, let's say, email. Okay. Technically, it is unauthorized access because I do not have Deo's consent. I do not have Deo's permission, but with his credentials, I'm now authorized. Okay. So there are now layers to it. There is unauthorized access with authorized credentials. So now this takes us to the triple A. Okay. Authenticate, authorize, and account, right? Yes. So we go with the triple A, which is authenticate, where much as I'm giving my credentials as Sydney Wadada, there's layer 2, which is starting with authentication. Now we go to authorization. What can I access, right? Yes. So now basing on what am I allowed to access, now this is down to also access controls because different individuals are allowed to access different resources. Now we have, well, allow me conclude with the triple A. So once we identify the resources that you are authorized to access, later on we carry out the accounting or the audit of, yes, they were signed in, he accessed A, B, C, and D, okay? And then we account. By accounting or auditing, we're looking at Dell usually accesses his email between 7 a.m. and 5 p.m. Why did he access beyond 5 p.m.? Now that helps us validate, was Dell unauthorized user using authorized credentials, or was Dell an unauthorized user using authorized credentials? Are we clear on that? Good.
Yes.
Now, when we go to access controls help us to map an entity to resources, but there are tools that are going the extra mile to enforce this because you're going to find Dell has more than 10 usernames and passwords, or even emails and passwords that he needs to remember to perform his duties on a daily basis. That is not forgetting administrative rights in these different credentials. So if we actually have tools that you are going to store for you the administrative accounts and help you manage those passwords in the sense of password rotation, uh, minimum length, maximum length, the nature of characters that you can put, password history, password reuse history, all these that are being enforced on your behalf so that you do not have to deal with, okay, so I'm using the same password for these 5 administrative accounts. I need to change at least for my personal accounts, but we all struggle remembering passwords. So now when it comes to access control, you might even find that Sydney, Deo need to access a particular resource, but we shouldn't give them simultaneous access. Let's create one user same password, but they need to authenticate. Okay? So access controls can limit who and when we can access these resources. So if Sydney is logged on, Deo will not log in. Even if he puts the correct password, the correct username, Deo will not access because there is a valid user at the moment utilizing those resources. So access controls come in various ways because like I spoke about the tools that help you manage your credentials or your access. There are measures such as renewing a password or reconciling a password, because if we're sharing the account and I change the password, we need to reconcile it. But how do we reconcile the password without word of mouth, without me typing it over to you? The system needs to reconcile this password on our behalf. So how is that enforced? We have two-factor authentication whereby much as the password is already submitted and reconciled in the sense Sydney changed it, yes, we acknowledge she changed it, authenticate using your biometrics, let's say voice, or your iris scan, or even your thumb, like the fingerprint scan, or even a one-time PIN, okay? So yeah, that is how the different access controls are being enforced in different organizations.
Okay, that's really interesting. Now, when it comes to integration, how do you manage security services, integrating all of these and areas to ensure that, first of all, the people you're working with or the customers, the clients have peace of mind that actually the systems are safe and working appropriately?
I'm going to say peace of mind varies because you'll find a client who is not comfortable having you monitor their database activity, but they're comfortable having you monitor their logs. Okay? So
That is
yes.
interesting.
Yeah. I'll not be comfortable with you monitoring the database activity because at the end of the day you can always generate a report and all that. But I'm very comfortable sharing the logs because these logs are, well, now these are different systems that I'm talking about. One is a DAM, that is database activity monitoring, and now another that is dealing with the logs is the SIM. So you'll find that most of the managed services clients actually side with the likes of SIMs, the SOA, because, well, when I talk about the SOA, it's heavily because playbooks are not easy to craft because you need a step by step of in case of this happening, this and this is how, the system reacts to it. And many organizations have not yet come up to speed with the playbooks. Yes, we talk of playbooks in the sense of if you get a malicious email, this is what you should do, this is what you should do, but we are going towards automated world. It's digital, it's automated. So if we have the automated playbook in place, Sydney will never have to, okay, I've gotten a malicious email, I need to report the to the IT support, okay, so that they flag it for the rest of us. No, the playbook is already enforced because it knows what to do after a particular event. So you'll find that most of the managed services are in the form of vulnerability scanning because yes, I'm not going to have the capacity to get systems to synchronize all the different manufacturers that are out there. You're going to find maybe you have a Fortinet firewall, you have a Cisco switch, you have a different supplier for maybe your routers, and you're using a Dell machine. Someone has a different, desktop elsewhere. So these different devices, they normalize or they pull data they pull the logs from these different endpoints differently. So having your services managed in the form of someone is operating my SIEM, someone is operating the SOA, someone is doing the vulnerability scanning for me, it takes off the burden from the client in the sense of, am I doing enough? Is my team well trained to take on the tasks? So those are some of the points that the client gets the relief from. Necessarily about the security, you are better protected when you're doing it yourself. That is the truth. You are always better protected when you are in greater control compared to when you hand over to someone. Because the biggest weakness in security, human beings. So yeah, once a human being is somewhere managing a system that is managing your services, there is a level of comfort, but it does not give you that peace of mind. Peace of mind comes in the fact that you've shifted the burden. Yeah. Simply put, you're shifting the burden and someone is managing it.
Okay. Does that mean that you people work 24/7 to ensure that the burden is shifted?
I'm going to say yes and no. Why do I say yes and no? Because much as we offer managed services, we do not heavily push for managed services. Because, like I said, we would very much love to create a culture of security first in not only our side, but even the end user. Yes. So we are strong as a collective team, we are actually as strong as the weakest link. If the end user is negligent or isn't fully aware, or they're not pushing the cyber awareness among themselves as we are pushing it among them, and they're all going for managed services, that leaves a huge gap. And I very much wouldn't want that to be the scenario in the moment. So, no, we do not fully offer the 24/7, but yes, we do offer 24/7 support in the sense of I'm using a DAM application or I'm using CyberArk and I have this challenge. How do I resolve it? We are going to jump on a call because we handed you the tool. We have better knowledge in how to use the tool. So we are going to make using the tool on your end smoother and much simpler. So any problem you have with the tool that is enforcing your security, 24/7 support. But when it comes to how you're utilizing the tool, you need to offer the 24/7 support to yourself because we optimize it. We optimize it to make sure that all these areas are catered for in the sense of if it comes to, let's say, your authentication level, we have two-factor authentication enforced. We have minimum password length enforced. We have character restriction. We have password reuse policies enforced. Now that is as far as pushing 24/7 support. Now, when you reach out and you let us know that, you know what, my passwords are not, expiring in due time, could be a result of something that was changed on your end or an upgrade or an update, immediately we jump on a call. We jump on a support call if we are not able to reach out on site. But we prioritize site visits because it makes more sense when we have human interactions. Yes.
Okay, thank you for that. Now, what advice do you give to a company which is seeking the services of iSolution?
ISOLUTIONS. I'm going to say, one, the biggest challenge that we face as people in the cyber world, we are looking at the cost, the initial cost. That one, I'll not even sugarcoat it, but there are solutions that are pocket friendly and they meet the greater extent of what you're looking for. So do not be constrained by the pocket, because at the end of the day, the cost of you not going for a solution could outweigh the cost that you would have initially put in. So do not think of only the cost, think of the greater advantage that you get. And given that we are an organization that has partnered with a good number of organizations, not only in Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, I believe we can always find a way to provide a solution that is not only suitable for your needs, but also pocket friendly.
Yes. Any parting shots for our audience and where to find you and where to find iSolutions?
iSolutions, we have a website, so you can always check isolutions.io. That is the website. Sorry, isols, isols.io, not iSolutions, isols.io. That is the website. As far as the offices in Uganda, we are located at Crested Towers, opposite Huntington Road. You can always reach out on contacts. We have, I'll disclose my contact because I consider it a work contact. So, yes.
No, but I think those are things which they will find if they want to know. Uh,
Exactly. So, yeah,
yeah, on the
if you
website they will
can
find it.
always, on LinkedIn, I use Sydney Wadada. On LinkedIn, the organization uses iSolutions. So yes, iSolutions, even if you searched iSols, you'll still get us as your feedback from the various search platforms. The Kenyan team, you can always search on our website and you'll get a contact, you'll get the address. When it comes to Tanzania, same thing. So yes, you are fully covered East Africa wise, and we are looking to expand. So yes, feel free to offer us opportunities to interact with you, to get to offer you solutions in terms of cybersecurity. We are not limited by borders. We are pushing the borders to every cybersecurity zone within the world. Provided you welcome us, you offer us the opportunity to showcase what we have.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Sydney. And I know many people would also want to join iSolutions because of this conversation. So thank you for articulating information well and also bringing the idea of breaking it down from the technical to the non-technical. I always like it when people do that. And the fact that the industry is still growing and we expect more of people like you in the industry.
It will be a great pleasure if someone gives back feedback and they're like, you know what, yeah, I joined cybersecurity because of this podcast where Sydney spoke about ABC, and it would greatly move me. And Deo, thank you so much for this opportunity. I know I'm representing a big organization, and I bring regards from our CTO, from the country managers. I'm sure they would very much love to be here, but sorry to disclose this, but yeah, they are family men and women, so they left the responsibility to some of us that have less responsibilities at the moment. And honestly, for me, it's an opportunity to interact with the rest of the people that are on your show.
Okay, that's really great. So thank you. Where can you've already talked of where they can find you? Other than that, see you all in the next episode of the Cyber Weekly. So be sure to subscribe. We are on the road to 1,000 subscribers. So subscribe to the podcast. Other than that, see you in the next episode.